Good morning. It is Tuesday, February 9th, 2015. Just want to share with you a piece from the New York Times by Michael Powell, published yesterday, February 8th, 2016. Kind of demonstrates the whole how Cam Newton really needs to grow the bleep up. I mean, seriously, I just saw a cartoon of Cam when I was surfing Facebook this morning, where it showed him in a crib with this like huge 3-word necklace Cam around his neck, and he just looks like he's crying. And there are 3 of the Broncos staring in through the windows, and one of them is Peyton Manning, probably another one is Von Miller. But if there's anything that took a huge hit over the weekend because of the Super Bowl, it would definitely be Cam's image, and he brought it all himself in this piece. This piece, titled "Cam Newton Sacked 6 Times, Brings Himself Down." And thusly I begin. There was no humiliation to be found in Carolina Panthers quarterback Cam Newton's performance on the field at the Super Bowl. The Denver Bronco defenders charged like banshees and werewolves, coming over and under, hurtling around the Panthers' blockers. The young quarterback was sacked 6 times, and he fumbled when the man-mountain known as Von Miller tossed him to the turf. He scrambled gamely and tossed some brilliant javelin throws. But if his was a less than stellar night, that can happen on the grandest of stages. His humiliation came after the game, however, and it was itself imposed. Newton, 26, and an intelligent, gifted quarterback, decided to act in his moment of truth like a 13-year-old. He slouched into the interview room late, after many of his teammates, rookies and veterans alike, who gamely answered painful questions. He took a seat, blue sweatshirt hood pulled low over his face. He made eye contact with no one. What did he make of the game? Was he surprised? How could he explain? The reporter's questions, not a surprise in the batch, were framed gently, as if put forward by a dim-witted therapist. For more than a minute, Newton stared at the floor, scratched his chin, and sulked. Anything he would do differently? No. What did his coach tell the team? He told us a lot of things. Did the Denver defense take away Carolina's running lanes? No. He offered a few more monosyllables and walked away. It was as if Newton were intent on taking his magical season, his jumping jacks and dabs and evident leadership, and poking a hole in its side. He let his charisma and leadership drain away to be replaced by a soup of the sour, and in doing so, he confirmed the judgment of more than a few Bronco defenders who spoke afterward of trying to push him off of his game psychologically. The post-game news conference can be a numbing rite of passage when aching and bruised and torn men take a round of questions before leaving their season in the rearview mirror. Some questions can be cringeworthy, although most are a matter of fact. The Panthers' rookie wide receiver, Devin Funchess, took question after question. It was playoff ball, man. They exploded off the ball, he said. It hurts. And their defensive end, Charles Johnson, spoke of not having, quote, the energy we usually have, unquote. Also added in quotes, we didn't execute like we usually do, the defensive end added. Over in the corner of the interview room, only the top paid player on the team, the marquee man, came up short. So often we feed our perceptions through the delusionary sausage maker of race, and Newton's post-game performance is being treated on Twitter as a referendum on such questions. This is unfortunate, and not to mention silly. Newton's Panthers teammates and coaches who stood and answered questions painfully, gamely, were black, white, and Latino, veteran, and rookie alike. Grace in defeat observes no racial litmus test. The white Detroit Pistons center Bill Laimbeer was a graceless cad in defeat. Dwayne Wade and LeBron James, to name 2, have been sterling gold. Spurs coach Greg Popovich has turned surliness into a shtick that should be beneath him. Patriots quarterback Tom Brady behaved well 2 weeks back, as did Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson the week before that. And so on and on it goes. It's simply pleasing to come across an athlete who, in the face of, yes, inevitable and not terribly interesting questions, and on the heels of a tough defeat, carries himself well, and it can be part of the elixir that constitutes leadership, as the Broncos defenders suggested. Newton did not put up a particularly poor effort in the game, which was hardly one for the ages. The penalty-strewn, butter-fingered, butter-toed exercise in which Denver outlasted its opponent. Peyton Manning, the ancient mariner of a Broncos quarterback, was reduced to gesturing and fakes and little more. His team was inert. The offense consisted of a mind-numbing set of nowhere runs and Manning passes that went for a yard or two or three. Manning's throws resembled wiffle balls. One hung so softly in the air that defensive end Coney Ely simply reached out and intercepted it with a single hand. The Broncos' defense was brilliant, except when its quarterback Aqib Talib grabbed an opponent's face mask, tried to twist his head off like a mad farmer with a chicken. Talib received three flags in the first half. In most sports, he would have been sent to the showers. He said those penalties were a bunch of nonsense, although he said it in stronger terms, adding, quote, "One I just did on purpose, I just had to show him," close quote. Then Talib talked about how special it was that his children watched him that night. That passed for a heartwarming NFL moment. The mesmerizing figure, however, was Newton. As an ESPN writer noted, Newton is 6'5" and 245 pounds, bigger than any player on the Green Bay Packers championship team in Super Bowl I. He reads offenses with intensity, and he is that rare pocket passer who can dodge and break off looping runs. He can be, in other words, an awful lot of fun to watch. He resembled a water bug in a jar Sunday, jumping this way and that. He was game in taking that relentless Broncos defense. For long stretches of the second and third quarters, he was the most exciting player on the field. He finished 18 of 41 for 265 yards and fumbled twice. By the final quarter, however, his body language spoke to demons taking possession of his house. Denver linebacker Marcus Ware laid him out. As Newton bounced off the turf, he gave an annoyed look, a princeling not accustomed to such tough handling. He wandered to the Panthers' sideline. The Panthers trailed by just 16-7. Three weeks ago, I watched Newton rally his team, doing jumping jacks, leaping, exchanging chest bumps with his receivers and runners. Not now. He wandered down the sideline and stared into space. He put his hands on his knees and stared to the ground for 14 seconds. Later, slowly, he wandered back to the bench. He walked to his offensive line, a porous lot this night, and slapped two hands. Then he wandered off again. Afterward, the Broncos said that this was the Newton, the young star too easily rattled and perhaps not yet equal to his moment they had hoped to unleash. Quote, "Hey, when things don't go his way, we see the body language, it's obvious," close quote. Broncos safety T.J. Ward said of Newton. Quote, "That's what we wanted to do. That was our intent, to come in this game, to get the body language going. We didn't want the happy, fun-loving, the fun-spirited, dabbing Cam. No, we wanted the sulking, upset talking to my linesmen, my running backs. I don't know what's going on, Cam Newton, and that's what we got," close quote. And that on the field Cam was prologue to the post-game press conference. This need not be Newton's epitaph. Newton has fine mentors from whom he can learn grace, among them the Hall of Fame quarterback Warren Moon, who endured years of racially tinged self-imposed exile in Canada in the 1980s before an NFL team consented to allow him to take snaps and lead a team. Newton's talents are many and varied. His challenge is to prove himself equal to leading his fine team to the Super Bowl. And so, end of article. There you go. I had to change a couple things here and there on the fly because of the verbosity of it, and sometimes you come across it, it's like, okay, so yeah, time to do an audible, but I tell you, it absolutely goes to prove to show you. I mean, I just saw the body language, and they got to him, because I ended up saying beforehand that if Cam could be knocked down on his posterior, not so gently, the more times they do that, the more chances they have to win. And that's what happened. Now, to the whole press conference thing, one of the things that was not covered in this article was the fact that right next to where Cam was one of the defensive players. I honestly forget which one it was. that was talking very loudly about what they were trying to do to get Cam off of his game. And you kind of have to give it to Cam being in public speaking situations where you have somebody who's talking very loud nearby and you're trying to compose yourself, and that's tough. So that I will give to him, even worse when it's being talked loud and it's about you. So that's a bit hard to swallow, but still, even with that didn't excuse at all, I believe, his behavior with the press conference, because it's part of the gig, part of the big money. You get paid the big bucks, even after a horrible game, even after you get hurt, even after you don't feel good. You still have to answer the questions. I mean, it's part of the reasons why you're paid the big bucks. And so the question is how does he answer this season? Because the season will ultimately be remembered, not, I think, for, they only lost one game, but they got to the Super Bowl and could not get it done. They got all the way through the playoffs. Now, on the positive, I do have to say, because previously towards this, they hit a brick wall, only divisional rounds, or only, when they couldn't go deep into the playoffs, and they did go deep, so there was definite improvement. You have Peyton, who's used to going deep and used to getting to the Super Bowl, as opposed to have Cam Newton, who is not used to getting to the Super Bowl, and they finally ended up getting through the brick wall, so that was a positive step forward with the Panthers. Now the other question is, they just hope that the next time they get back to the Super Bowl, they don't have to go up against a really tough defense, or else it will be, forget it, because now Carolina has a franchise 0-2 in the Super Bowl, having, of course, lost back in the early O's, as you call the 2000s, lost back in the early O's, of course, against the Patriots, who at least weren't in a Super Bowl again. And so there you go. So just wanted to share that article with you, as I thought it really demonstrated why it is so hard to root for Cam Newton, because of everything kind of going Cam's way. He's happy, and if not, well, yeah. And I know that personally I tend to, a lot of times, tend to do that myself, as we all tend to be a little bit of, have a little Cam inside all of us when things don't exactly flow the way we like. So just sort of have to watch the body language there and try not to be like Cam, because even though we may not have 17,000 TV cameras on us, you tend to notice somebody's always watching, and sometimes it's not the folks who you want to be watching. So anyway, I hope you are having a fantastic Tuesday as we head on in to the long off season. Anywho, that's it for me. Just a quick one today. Just wanted to share that with you, and I'll talk to you next time, whatever that may be. I'm gone.